Here we have verse 5 of Jude, the single chapter of the book only referenced by its verse numbers. So verse 5 here begins hupomnesai. This is from hupomimnesko, which means to remind someone or put someone in memory of something. This is an infinitive. It's an aorist active infinitive. And so to put you in memory, that's the simple sense of it. To remind you would be the way we might ordinarily say it. The author here has already indicated to these people that he had desired to write to them about their common salvation, but was concerned because, as he indicated in the previous verse, it seems that certain men with evil intent have surreptitiously invaded the congregation, and so now he's giving them warning reminders, and this is the first of them. So I want to remind you, or I'm reminding you. To remind is the simple infinitive sense, the postpositive de, but remind, and then humas. This is functioning as the object of this verb, so to remind you would be the idea. And then boulomai. Boulomai is an idea of wanting or wishing something, desiring something. This is the first person singular, present middle form indicative. A softer idea maybe than the active would have been. But the idea is I want there to remind you. So I have a desire to remind you. And then a very interesting little additional element here. This is really what's called an accusative absolute. Quite a bit more rare, of course, in the New Testament than the genitive absolute, which is used rather frequently. But this would be an accusative. So we have an accusative verb here, eidotos. This is from eido. It means to see something, and usually the sense of it is to see something as in knowing it. And then so it's the idea in the accusative, seeing or knowing, and then humas, the subject actually of that verb, but it's in the accusative because, as I say, it's an accusative absolute. So I want to remind humas you, and then you knowing is the idea. So actually the humas here is functioning in a translation form as if it were the subject of this verb, but the accusative absolute will put both of these in the accusative case. So I want to remind you, you knowing, and then what do they know? All things. We would probably infer into this in English translation, even though you know all these things, although that's adding a little bit beyond the actual text. I want to remind you, you knowing, panta, all these things, or this, all the things that I'm referring to here, specifically hoti, that, and then ho is present in some manuscripts, the kurios, Lord. Actually, some rather well-attested ancient manuscripts have the name Jesus here, but it's been routinely not translated that way. If it were translated, it would say that Jesus was the one who executed the judgment. It'd be unique in the New Testament to say it that way, and I'm just mentioning in passing here. I think probably the better rendering is what we have in the common translation. So that the Lord, hapags, indeclinable adverb, means once for all. Leon, not the people, but a people. This is without the article. The word laos means people. So that the Lord once for all, a people. And then a prepositional phrase, ek, takes the genitive, geis. Out of geis is the word for land. So the land, out of land, Aegypto, of Egypt. So a people out of the land of Egypt, sosos. Sosos is a aorist active participle, masculine singular nominative. So that the Lord once for all out of Egypt saved them. This is the in the nominative because it's of course describing what God has done, who is the subject of this, or the Lord has done. So save these people out of Egypt, and then continuing to deuteron the second time. Usually translated afterwards, and that's a rather loose rendering. A little more precise sense of it is the second time. And of course, where it's heading is apolesen,
from apolumi, which means to destroy. So the sense of it is the first time he saved them, the second time he destroyed them. The saving of them, of course, was when the Exodus took place from Egypt. The destroying of them was connected to what happened in the wilderness with respect to those who did not believe, which is what he says here, tous. So he destroyed the not me pisteuontas, the not believing ones. So in the first instance, salvation. In the second instance, destruction or judgment falls. Now this, of course, is all intended by the author to warn these people that they too have some peril and that they need to be wide awake to the jeopardy that they may be in, because of course we have precedent in the Old Testament record of God taking people who had on one occasion appeared to be saved and yet nevertheless later came into judgment, and the author here wants to make sure these people are keeping that particular risk in mind in their dealings with their own church and its members.